Day 5. All right, we finally got to day 5. Hope you're enjoying the videos. We've enjoyed making them for you. We're going to talk today mainly about behaviors, because that's a lot of why people sometimes are hesitant to be involved in special needs ministries. And the more you know about why we have behaviors and what they're about, the more likely you are to be able to have a plan to deal with them. So we're asking as an objective is to just be aware and to understand that there are a lot of reasons behind these behaviors and how you can help anyone with an exceptionality with these by having some knowledge about it in front. And so we want to, as a goal, to develop the heart that Jesus has to reach people. He reached out to people even that were possessed of demons, remember, and worked with them. So that's our heart, is that we want to reach people's needs as Jesus did. In our devotion in Isaiah 58:10, it says, "And if you give yourself to the hungry and satisfy the desires of the afflicted, then your light will rise in darkness, and your gloom will become like midday." Giving of yourself to those in needs is like a glass of water being poured out for God. And it's a spring of fresh water to the person who needs it. And he was refreshed and satisfied, but so are you. You feel refreshed from your dry places. You've reached out to others. We all know that the way to get over depression is to help someone else. And so there it is in the Bible telling us that we're going to be rewarded out of our gloom and out of our scorched and dry places by helping someone who is afflicted. So as we begin before we get into behaviors, I've forgotten yesterday's lesson about the benefits, and you have a copy of these, but benefits of people with disabilities being included in your church and in your ministries benefit them, but it benefits others as well. And I wanted you to know that by helping a person with a disability to be included, that you're increasing their learning. You're giving them the opportunity to develop friendships with others, to improve their skills, communication, basic skills, learning social skills. You're improving those. And you're building a support system for that person. Because if we mentioned before, no one seems quite so strange once they know you better. Then they see you and understand you. So you get a support system built of people. And then you have that sense of belonging. So it's a great benefit to someone with a disability to be included on top of the salvation that we talked about, so they can have eternal benefits as well. But for those without disability, it benefits them in just as many ways, if not more. They start to increase their understanding, their awareness, and their tolerance of people who are different from them. They're not so fearful then or feel prejudiced against people that are different from them. And they can develop friendships that would have never developed on their own, and skills on dealing with people that are different. And you never know when one day they might choose a career path that has them working directly with people with disability, or they themselves might become the parent of a person with a disability, or they themselves might develop a disability. So all of those, anything you could do to help with that would be beneficial to them. And you improve your problem-solving skills. I don't know how many times we haven't said, think out the box, trial and error, try it another way. And so you start to improve that, and you learn how to collaborate with others. Because if I can't figure it out, I'm going to tell these ladies, and they're going to give me suggestions, and we're going to collaborate on it, and then we're going to try something else. And so it benefits the whole congregation as they increase their love of others. Then we just become more Christ-like. Mm-hmm. And so that being said, behaviors is one of the biggest drawbacks to getting people to be involved. But we all have good days and bad days, and some days our behaviors are not that great, and they're no different. And usually there's a reason behind a behavior. Maybe their mood is because they're sick, getting sick, they didn't sleep well, it's medical reasons, or different things can happen. Something has overstimulated them where they've got extremely happy, believe it or not, that could cause behavior problems, or extremely sad or worried over something. Anxiety can cause some behavior problems. But as a leader, you've got to notice that if it's a change, once you get used to a child or a person, adult with a disability, you can notice and you can start to see, hey, they're getting a little anxious or they're getting a little too excited, and you maybe can start to calm them down and talk to them or change the scene a little bit to redirect them to something new. Most of my daughter's problems come when she gets overstimulated. And at first it sounds like so much fun. She's laughing and having a good time, and you're like, okay, this is good. And the next thing you know, she's throwing water bottles or something because she got too overstimulated by it. But every behavior has a purpose, and every behavior is a communication. It's looking at what are they trying to communicate. And you don't always know. Sometimes I figure out days later, sometimes maybe I never figure out what the trigger was that caused a behavior. But if the learner's seeking attention, are they trying to escape something, avoid something? Are they in an uncomfortable situation, want to get out of it? What are they trying to do when they do this attention? There's a bunch of questions. What lies behind the challenging behavior? It's often an unmet need. It could be too hot in here. It could be too cold. Normal behaviors have developmental stages, and so do children with disabilities. So it may be that we're expecting a behavior that they're not even ready for developmentally. Sitting through a whole worship service, most people realize that a 1-year-old is probably not going to do that. They're not going to sit there quietly. Well, if your developmental level is 18 months, you probably can't either. And it doesn't matter what your chronological age is. Our nervous systems can become regulated. It could be lights, it could be temperature, it could be sounds. A lot of things could cause their nervous system to get in a mode of fight or flight type mode where they just got to move, they got to get up and move. And coping strategies that work sometimes don't work. So you think, well, I'm going to take deep breaths, and that works. And then next thing you know, you're in a situation and you say, take deep breaths. And they took the deep breaths and it didn't work. So just because they learned a coping skill doesn't mean it's always going to work in every situation. And things change. Behavior-wise, as you're growing and you're developing, adolescence, your brain's different. A 2-year-old brain and a 12-year-old brain are different, even though 13-year-olds act like 2-year-olds. But it could be that it's a change in your development as well that's causing some behaviors. If you think about it, most little children are mainly attention or escape or tangible. But that's not fair. I don't like it because they got this and I didn't. That's not fair. That kind of behavior comes around middle school age. 10 to right in there. And teenagers, it's a whole nother world because they're working towards independence. And so their goal is, I want to do it all myself, and I don't need anybody bossing me. So those behaviors are all typical, but they're also misbehaviors. So everyone has them. It's just sometimes an extra microscope is put on our special population. And I tell my students, we have to behave better than the regular classroom to even be accepted, because they're expecting us to misbehave. And I don't know how many bus drivers, as I've taken my class on field trips, will tell me, this is the best class I've ever had on my bus. And it's because we have to teach that in order for them to be accepted. So behaviors that I wanted you to know, they're typically developing, they're exaggerated when it comes to our population, because people see them as, oh no, I won't know what to do if they have a fit. One lady in our school cafeteria just don't know what to do if they won't pick 3 things to put on their plate, because that's their rule, they have to put 3 things on their plate, and she don't want them to have a fit. But every other child going through there, she'll say, nope, you gotta have one more thing, and put something on their plate. We said, put 3 things on our kids' plates too. Well, what if they throw a fit? If they throw a fit, they throw a fit.
Yeah.
You know, so, a lot of them is attention or escape at the young age, especially. They want to escape something they don't want to do. And a change of location could do that. A redirect to some other activity could do that. Given choices could help with that. You just have to try different things. Once you've looked at what could this behavior be about, then you can start to come up with, well, what can we do to change this behavior? And sometimes it gets worse before it gets better. But it can be changed. And as we're going through making changes, the way to look at it is to write down, and you will have a slide on this, what we call the ABC model. And it's antecedent, which means what was happening right before this child acted out. And then what did they do? What was that behavior that we have to write about? And then what happened right after that? And so sometimes we see the consequences, what they were trying to get to. An example would be a child starts throwing a screaming, crying fit in the store with their mother because they want a toy and the mother's told them no. So the behavior is that fit. Right before that was the mother saying no. And then they threw the fit, and then guess what happened?
Not the toy.
The mother bought them the toy because they didn't want to be embarrassed in the store. So guess what? They're going to cry in the store again. I can guarantee you it worked. If that behavior had a purpose, you're going to repeat that behavior. So that's any child again. There's a reason for acting out. And once you know what that reason is, you have to change the reinforcer behind it to change the behavior. Reinforcers can be negative and they can be positive, but it's whatever happens after that behavior that causes that behavior to either reoccur again or not reoccur again is what the reinforcement is about. So it's an item or an event that follows a behavior that increases the probability that that behavior will occur again, that it reinforced the behavior. So you want to reinforce the good behaviors and not the ones who are acting out. And believe me, it's hard. One of the keys is to remember that it's not about you. They're not trying to get you upset. They're not trying to tell you they don't like you. They may say they don't like you, but it's all about what their needs are and their wants are. And that brings me to sin. And we think they're safe, but you know, I've never seen a child, regardless of the severity of their disability, they couldn't manipulate an adult into doing what they wanted them to do. And so that my way, want my way, isn't that kind of our number one sin as humans? Yeah, so.
I have a lot of parent behaviors at Joyce Center. It's the child acting out, but it's because of the parents' behavior towards the child.
If it works, then the child can learn it won't work in this environment. But if it works in one, it's going to take a while to get them to realize. And you can't give in even once, because then that door is open. Well, it didn't work. It don't work 99% of the time, but I'm going to keep trying because that one time it works. So your consistency is so important that you're not going to give in to that behavior and give them what they want. If it's attention or a tangible thing like that toy in the store or whatever, that you can't give in to that and give them what they want, or you have reinforced that behavior. And so you want to reinforce good behaviors. The way if they walk in the store nicely, then you might want to give them a toy or a treat, but not for screaming and crying and throwing a fit.
And sometimes it takes years to unlearn a behavior. I had a wise teacher tell me one time, don't let something start that you're going to have to break. a behavior.
Because
or
it
habit.
becomes a habit.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all know about habits, people are in support groups for those. You know, if you start something and you're getting reinforced for it, it's gonna continue. So attention, children don't seem to care whether they're getting positive attention or negative attention. You could be yelling at them,
Mhm.
but at least you paid them attention, and that's what they wanted. So that's their motivation, is just to see me, spend time with me, talk to me. And so you need to catch them being good. So you see them doing something that you like and give them lots and lots of attention for that, and try to ignore the things that you didn't want to see them doing instead of fussing at them about those. Yelling doesn't work. You've got to find a way to give them attention for the good behaviors. And tangible, they need to work for things that they want. And that's where the first then comes in that I mentioned earlier. First, you do this, whether it's a chore, a school assignment, a going to bed on time and staying in bed, whatever it is that you're working towards that they're going to get a reward for, that they know they have to do this first before they can get what it is they've asked for. And sometimes those can be delayed, and like, especially if it's a big toy or something. But the delay could be, well, you'll get a sticker each time you do this. Works good with potty training. So you get a sticker, and then when you get so many stickers, then you get that toy. And so they can start to see their way to get there. And you can delay the big prize until they've done it successfully for so many times, depending on their age and what the thing was that they wanted. Sometimes a behavior is just because they want to be stimulated. And they want to be able to walk or run, or if autism, you might see they want some time to do some flapping or something like that. So again, know what the reason is. What are they doing this for? They want to stimulate. Okay, well, there might be a time and a place where that can be an acceptable thing for them to do, but not when you're trying to do certain things where you say, no, first we do this, then you can watch the record player spin. And then the escape or avoidance is one you think isn't used often by children, but it's used a lot. They just don't want to be there doing that, and so they will have a meltdown and get to stop. They can leave the church service. They can leave the grocery store that they didn't want to go with you to start with. And so you really have to work hard on how can I get past that and leave them there, and so not give them that escape for that. Give them choices of, you know, we're going here, and you're going to, if you can stay through this time, then you'll get this reward later. And set it up with some choices involved, and it would help them.
Sandra, I have two of my children were older children when they came to us, and we adopted them. Caleb was 14, and he had severe behaviors to the point that he wasn't even going to school all day. And he was a good-sized boy when he came to live with us. And I'm 4'11", and I'm strong, but I met my match with him and trying to restrain him. Well, for several years we worked on all kinds of charts, and he's nonverbal. He has seizures, and he has a lot of brain damage because of a very rare brain disease, and had to have surgery. And we thought that the behaviors would go away once he had his brain surgeries, but they continued. And so I finally, at my wit's end with him, I mean, he would throw chairs and just hit, and just was becoming very difficult. And one day I went to a health food store, and I said, is there something you might could recommend as a natural food or something to help my son with his behavior. And they referred me to this lady that used natural sources to find different things wrong with your body. And so I made an appointment with her and found out that he was allergic to wheat. And because of that, his stomach hurt all the time because of what he was eating. And he was having severe headaches. So we had to change his diet to take away this wheat, which is in everything. Breads, pastas, cereals, and as we begin to eliminate that out of his system and put him on some really good vitamins for his body to detox so that he became a different child. And even though he still has some behaviors because he's spoiled, I mean, my kids are spoiled.
You heard it here, folks.
It's less and less. So sometimes behaviors is physical. And if we could just kind of stop and think about what it must be like in their bodies, and if you could find a source to test them for allergies. My other daughter, Hannah, was 16, and she had been in foster care for a long time, and a lot of times our foster children are immediately put on lots of medication. And she had lots of medications, and we asked the psychiatrist about all these medications, and some he did not know why she was on them, and he said, let's gradually take them away and see how she behaves, and then we'll add medications as her behaviors shows that she needs it. Because here in America, many doctors think a pill is the answer. And I'm a parent that wants the pill to be the last resource. So we weaned her of all this psychotropic medications, and she was fine. And we started developing job skills for her to do, and found out she liked music and dancing and socializing, and we helped her develop behaviors that was very positive. And then when she got to be about 21, she began to have some very bizarre behaviors and hallucinating, and realized that she was schizophrenic and that she had to have medications to help control the chemical imbalance of her brain. But we also look for ways to help her to cope with these behaviors caused from this mental illness. So it's a process of watching your child, watching your students at church or your VIPs, wherever they at, and getting to know them in their home situation, because some of our homes are just very sad.
And being honest with that parent so that they have the full picture of what happens in other locations for their child, and not just beating them down with your child did this, this, and this, but out of concern. There's a way to let them know, I'm concerned because your child seems to be struggling in this area, and still he's so bad. It's not the child that's bad, it's bad behavior, but there's a reason. So why is he doing this is what we're looking for.
That's why documentation is so important. I have a notebook, and it's just every time something new happens, it goes in that notebook. Okay, so what happened here? And we keep track of the behavior to see if there's a pattern. Because a lot of time behaviors have patterns. They do.
And you got to think outside the box. One of our students at Joy Center, when she first started, she loved to welcome students in. When they would drive up, parents would let them out. She would run out the door to greet them. Well, it was very dangerous. And we had to think, how can we help Jenny to understand that she can't go past that door. So I found a stop sign, and I said, Jenny, as long as the stop sign is in the window, you cannot go outside the door. And she understood that. It was a symbol that she knew that she had to stop right there. So it's just looking and observing and trying.
And sometimes it does include the medical profession. You do have to look for doctors, therapists, medications, but the parent can be involved in helping with all that. You know, you won't have to be the one doing that in a ministry, but you have to be the one reporting to the parent exactly what you're seeing, and hopefully it can be done without that. But
I'm sorry, and just encouraging those parents, you know, just being that prayer support and encourager.
so I found that the children who are the most challenging, I end up praying the most for, and so I end up loving those children just extra special. I remember one little boy, I said, Lord, give me your love for him.
Yes.
I love that little fellow like everything now, so he'll do it if you asked him. It was kind of like being mad at my husband. I found if I pray about it, God takes away the anger. So sometimes I'm like, just let me be a little mad first, and then I'll pray about it.
Now, when we started doing foster care, they tried us for some kids that had severe behaviors, and that was my favorite kids. Well, that opened up the door for lots of kids, and ended up adopting 10 of them.
Yes. So we're kind of like the choir here. Don't want to overwhelm anybody with special needs because it's not for everybody.
No.
But when you're working with children or adults with disabilities, I'm not sure it wouldn't work for regular adults too.
Yes.
They kind of need to know what the rules are.
Yes.
What's expected of me, and have high expectations, but keep the rules simple.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want but a few, and you want them posted in the room where they can see them and understand them. And you want them to be positive. If you start asking children, they'll love to brainstorm with you about it. And you're going to get, don't hit, don't pinch, don't kick. They know the don'ts. They can rattle them off. But they don't know that that means keep my hands to myself, keep my feet to myself. Oh, when you turn it around to a positive way, they don't know those words yet because that's not what they've been hearing. They've been hearing don't. And so pictures work good. If you're doing the hands and feet, have a picture of the hands and feet. We had to add mouth to ours because we had spitters and we had biters and we had cussers. And so we had keep your hands and your feet and your mouth to yourself. And so that kind of helped with those for a rule. But it needs to be general enough that it works everywhere. Because no matter where you go, you have to keep your hands and your feet and your mouth to yourself. So, you know, we want these children to be able to generalize that it's not just school rules. These are rules for the bus. These are rules for church. These are rules for the shopping mall. Wherever they're going, that these rules would still apply. And so voice levels, that we want to use a soft voice whenever they're inside. So whether it's inside your house or inside your car or wherever it is, that they know their voices are lower. So if the statements are broad and can be generalized to other settings. So you don't need very many of them. You just need to keep it simple so they can remember them, and then maybe put a little song to them or something so that some examples would be, you know, be respectful or be responsible. So that way they know they need to do their chores or their work or whatever they're assigned to do. And you don't want long ones that are just about one thing, like raise your hand before you speak. Well, that works some places, but at home you don't have to raise your hand before you speak. So being respectful is a better conversation there than that. And then there has to be the routine talk that they know this is the steps of what we do and how we do it. And so there's conversations about this is the way we wash our hands. Now the CDC wants us to know how to wash our hands, so now they say sing a song, but our kids were already like knowing step by step, we turn the water on, we get our hands wet, we put the soap on our hands, we wash this way and this way and this way, and we rinse all of it out. We had it step by step already because they needed that to, and otherwise they're gonna stick one hand under the water and pull it out and they're done.
Yep.
And they called that washing their hands.
We have pictures over the sink.
Pictures to show
show
how the
each
steps of going to the restroom, of washing your hands, how that is, all looks.
Blowing your nose.
Blowing your nose and throwing the tissue away and then putting some Germex on your hands. So all those are worked out in a routine to show them the step-by-step way to do things. And that way the expectations are there. Now with the school wanting everybody going the same direction, so they've got little footprints down the hall, little pieces of tape. And so now they know, but we already was trying to tell them, you know, keep your hands off the wall and walk in a straight line, but now they're starting to see the reason for that. And it went further, and I didn't think I would like it, and it worked out because of contact tracing. In case they get sick, we'll know who they've been around. Every child in the class was assigned a number, and they stay in that number order. And so I thought, I don't want my kids to be a number, but they learn quickly their number, and they go and line up on it, and they're staying in that, and we play games in that order, and we go to eat in that order. And so it kind of was just a routine. When it came in the beginning, and they learned it from day one that that's the way they do it, we used to have a lot of fighting over who's going to be first in line. And I thought, this isn't fair. The same person will always be first. They haven't complained once, but it's early in the year. They might get there, but right now, they just know their number. That's their place. So they're happy.
They're identified.
They're identified as
Yeah.
number 7. So, I mean, you can have routines about how to throw trash away. Matter of fact, I do. I don't like them jumping up and running to the trash cans. So I keep a little bin on the table and they can throw it in there, and then we can go to the big trash can at the end. Just whatever, and it has to be what you can live with. Now, maybe running to the trash can doesn't bother you, and so you never made a procedure about it. But if it bothers you, then make a procedure about it. This is the way we're going to do this, and so that everybody knows what's expected. And that will help the situations to have a routine. It takes a while to teach those. And then choosing reinforcers. We want to give them attention, and that can be very positive. Hugs, praise, high fives, air hugs, whatever nowadays. But you want to be sure you're catching them doing something good when you do it. Not when they're screaming and crying. They're going to have to stop all that before they can get a social attention. A tangible one they have to work up for. And it should be something that is affordable and convenient for you. It's readily available, and it's not too big of a price. I had a child once in my school who had some major behavior issues and was hospitalized. And the hospital said he was doing just great, and they called me to talk to me about his reinforcement. And they said if he did all of his work, he got to go swimming. I am a school teacher. My school does not have a swimming pool. I could not give him that reward. It was not possible. And as a matter of fact, they helped set him up for failure because it took a while for him to accept the things I could give him, because I couldn't give him a large enough reward for his behavior. But the reward was something he could have worked up to on the weekends with parents or something. You know, if you're good at school each day and get a sticker or a smiley face or whatever, then your mother will take you swimming. But, you know, work together as a team with that parent to come up with a reinforcer that, first of all, you're for. If you're against it, you're not going to reinforce it. And it's got to be something you're willing to do and have readily available, and that you agree it's not too large of a reward.
And you'll find a lot of the kids don't want the big. We have one, he just wants Post-it notes. He just wants the accordion Post-it notes that go straight down. We've got some that just want an M&M.
Yeah, if I use food, I always use very small amounts, like you get one Cheerio or cereal or one M&M candy or something for doing something good, not the whole bag.
Yeah.
So that way it stretches out and you get more bang for your bucks that way. And it's more accessible and kids will work again for it. But like if you said, well, yeah, you can work and get this whole candy bar, then once they've had the candy bar, you don't have a candy bar anymore and they don't have to do anything else. So, you know, the M&M one at a time works much better that way because it's not too large of an award for the situation. And believe me, a lot of social praise, kids are starved for some positive reinforcement. So just telling them they're doing a good job or giving them a little pat on the back or something goes a long, long way. Stickers are a prize within themselves for young children. They're not for my daughter, and the reason I think is because she has spent a lot of times in the hospital. And the hospital, if they stick you for to take your blood or to give you a shot or stuff, they want to give you a sticker. And so they give lots of stickers, and they're really cool stickers. They got some nice stickers. She doesn't want any of them because she knows that the hospital, it means you get stuck and you're getting something progged or you're getting something done to you for that sticker. So stickers are not a reward for her.
Sticker equals pain.
Yeah, stickers equal pain to her. She does not want to hear about a sticker. So, you know, there may be a reason why something works for one child and doesn't work for another child. And so ask the parents, what do they like? And try to find things that would be truly reinforcing for that child. They could have a whole menu of reinforcers, of things that work for them. Extra privileges work. They don't, where it didn't cost you anything or them anything. You're just going to get a little more time to play, or a little more time to get your blocks out, or to look at books, or to rest. For me, a nap would work. So, extra privilege.
Yeah, I'm in a stage in life where all of my children are adults now. My son, who is autistic, is very routine. Everything happens his way, his routine. And sometimes it just doesn't work now. Like, one of his jobs